Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to game number 4 here in this Week 2 Clash for the Cash series between our red Protoss, WhiteRa, and who's spawning in the south position, and the yellow Terran Complexities, Drewbie, who is in our north. I am Janitor.
And I am Zyori. We are so happy to be bringing you guys this series, and this could be the last game of the series. Drewbie is in line to swipe the series over WhiteRa 4-0. Certainly would be quite the upset, as we mentioned. WhiteRa was pretty heavily favored to win this series, so if Drewbie can pull it out, especially pulling out a 4-0 sweep would be absolutely huge, but don't be too eager to count out WhiteRa. A player of his caliber and experience should certainly have a couple of tricks up his sleeves. Hopefully some special tactics will come into play here in this fourth match. But cross-map positions on Shattered Temple. Judging by WhiteRa's play so far, I'm going to go ahead and guess we're going to see another fast expand come out of him. If not a 16 Nexus, then possibly just a 1-gate expand, something maybe a little bit more safe, at least so he can push back that initial bunker rush that took him off guard in that last match. Keep in mind, this is the MLG version of Shattered Temple, so there will not be any close ground spawning positions, and I think WhiteRa will be pretty happy to see that Drewbie is on the other side of the map. It will allow him to macro somewhat safely. Drewbie, on the other hand, is a little bit more of an unpredictable player in this scenario. These last two games, he's done a great job with that aggressive one-base play early on, but he's also done very well in the later stages of the games as far as expanding well, keeping up on that late-game macro. So I could see Drewbie try some sort of fast expand here, or even just try some more of that one-base pressure.
Yeah, that's exactly right, and that's the best part for Drewbie right now, is that he's in such a commanding lead of this series 3-0. He can do whatever he wants. If he wants to cheese his way and try and get on another win against WhiteRa, you know, he's got a couple of games to throw away here, but looks like he is just going to choose to play standard here. Actually, that supply depot coming down pretty early. There goes down that tech lab. Actually, I lied. That supply depot timing is just about on par. Drewbie finishing up his orbital command. WhiteRa is going to get a nice full scout here, and is going to see that tech lab on the barracks, so going to be expecting some kind of possibly Marauder pressure, and it looks like he does queue that up, so not Reaper expanding for Drewbie. That concussive shell coming down, sticking to his roots, wants to win this game just the way he won the last two.
Yeah, not a bad idea from Drewbie. That early pressure does catch WhiteRa off guard when he just goes for that super fast expand that works very, very well when players don't put on that super immediate pressure. Obviously, that's what Drewbie will be trying here, as he does have that concussive shells upgrade on the way. Pretty standard TVP opener here from the Terran perspective. But WhiteRa is not expanding nearly as aggressively as he has in the previous games, still sitting on that one gateway, and this is when we're going to see WhiteRa start to transition out of his opener. If he tries to drop an expansion or moves into something a little more one-base intensive, like a 4-gate or even some kind of a 3-gate expand, so we'll see pretty momentarily here what he decides to do, and he will drop down that Twilight Council. Could be fast blink stalkers, or could just be a DT rush. We'll see in just a moment as this Stalker moves to the midfield and does scout the forces of Drewbie. The concussive shell upgrade, not just finishing up, but not quite enough to slow that Stalker down and grant Drewbie first blood.
Yeah, this could actually be very, very scary. A very, very scary time for WhiteRa right now. That force is pretty scary with no sentry out. The sentry is on the way. All that gas being spent on the Twilight Council, and here it comes. Drewbie is pushing up first with his SCV, and there it goes. All units are going to be able to come down there. Now the question is, will Drewbie throw down a bunker? He could very easily do that. A couple of probes from WhiteRa being pulled off here and going to force Drewbie to back up again. The Reaper is joining the fight now. Drewbie trying to micro the best he can. Going to take out quite a few probes here, and then he can target fire down these Stalkers. One Marauder does go down. The Sentry is now joining the fight, but one Marauder versus a Sentry and a Stalker not going to be enough, although there were 6 workers killed in that engage.
Yeah, a nice little pick from Drewbie right there to kill 6 workers. WhiteRa did a pretty good job figuring out how many workers he would need to pull to hold that off successfully, and did minimize his losses pretty well. We do see that Dark Shrine down, but oh no! The beautiful scan from Drewbie does give him vision of the Dark Shrine, and he will know exactly what WhiteRa is up to. Expect to see an eBay come down and those missile turrets get dropped very, very quickly here. Wow, that is certainly unfortunate for WhiteRa. One of the most valuable things about a DT rush is the surprise, getting them in there before your opponent has any sort of detection ability. And there it is, that engineering bay getting dropped just about right away. And Drewbie should be able to deal with those Dark Templar no problem. But WhiteRa here is going to go ahead and take another pretty fast expansion, and he is going to go ahead and drop down that Robo facility, so we will get that Observer out nice and quick, and we'll see if he pulls out that Warp Prism. I would suspect we'll see WhiteRa try some Warp Prism play here and try some pretty funky DT harass in the main base.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And, WhiteRa always likes to use those Warp Prisms and is very, very good at it. So we'll have to see what he ends up doing as those two Dark Templar are making their way over. Looks like they are rallied straight to somewhere on the map, not sure where. But WhiteRa also taking down those Destructible Rocks, wants to take a very fast third here, it looks like. And it looks like the Dark Templar will be helping that along the way. The Warp Prism now on its way as those drones get transferred over for WhiteRa.
Exactly right. The drones are now hitting the natural. We do see WhiteRa slightly behind in Harvesters, to be expected, as he did lose quite a few in that initial engage, but still doing a good job producing them in a timely manner. As you mentioned, the Warp Prism just about halfway out, and I'm going to be curious to see exactly what he does with it. I guess we can follow this rally point to see where it's going. Looks like it is going to land in the main base, just as I thought. He is going to try and move in and catch him a bit off guard. What a lot of players do is they take those DTs and try to run them in the front. We see Drewbie's already prepared for that with the missile turret, but not many players use the Warp Prisms to their fullest potential, as we see Drewbie has absolutely no detection in the main except for those scans, and he may be caught a bit off guard here. We'll see exactly what WhiteRa decides to do as that Warp Prism makes his way across the map. Go ahead.
And Drewbie using that energy force for mules. He doesn't have any scans right now, which would be perfectly fine if there wasn't a Warp Prism on the map. But here comes WhiteRa in with his first Dark Templar, going to start doing some serious harass. He can actually set that Warp Prism up and continue warping in those Dark Templar. This is going to be painful for Drewbie to deal with.
Yeah, certainly right. Having no energy force scans is going to be quite the detriment, and splitting those Dark Templar is even smarter. We do see another DT is on the way in. The Warp Prism will get taken out here very, very quickly, but the DTs are just doing a tremendous amount of damage. There's one of those valuable scans coming down. One of the DTs does go down. That one almost survives, but not quite. But don't forget about this one DT over here, still in the mineral line, doing quite a bit of damage with 9 kills now, doing a nice bit of harass. Drewbie still without the ability to scan, still needs quite a bit of energy. So at the very least, right now, WhiteRa is denying a lot of mining time. He is going to be able to take down this reactor, which will be a nice little pick. Just about enough energy for the scan, and the scan will come down, and oh no, it doesn't fall. Drewbie able to repair it just in the nick of time. Small victory for Drewbie there, but keeping that reactor alive, certainly nice. But one thing I want to analyze about WhiteRa's play right here is by putting that aggression on, Drewbie is going to feel not so safe about moving out. He's going to want to stay in his base and make sure he can deal with any kind of harassment. As we see from the Drewbie cam, he has no idea that WhiteRa's expanded into the natural, and certainly no idea that WhiteRa's taken the high yield. So until Drewbie feels comfortable being a little bit more aggressive, it is going to be so difficult for him in the late game, as WhiteRa has such a significant income advantage right now.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And another Warp Prism is on its way, but it looks like it's going to be taken down by a turret. Both of the Dark Templars do get loaded off there, but they are still very, very visible from all of those units. The Dark Templar now getting scanned, and Drewbie quickly cleaning that up. He sees another Dark Templar actually down there, and WhiteRa retreats with that. A great job to throw down that sensor tower. Wants to be ready for any kind of Warp Prism that could come down his way. Drewbie is one of those players that one of the only players that I know that uses sensor towers in TVP. Not a lot of people use those sensor towers in anything other than TVT late game, so I'm extremely pleased to see that from Drewbie. But WhiteRa, like you said, does have his gold up. It's decently saturated right now. Has a couple of probes not doing anything, but he's going to be able to throw down those gases, and you can see wants to try and maybe set up a fourth as well. He's doing a very nice job. And holy production facilities, Batman! Do you see that in the main? Look at all those units being. Look at all those buildings being produced or being powered by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pylons there.
Yes, certainly right. WhiteRa is just taking the advantage in pretty much every way, shape, and form in this match. You just have those upgrades coming along very quickly with the double forge, Chrono boosting them out very quickly as well. So many gateways, and as you mentioned, so many unit producing structures. Looks like Drewbie is going to go ahead and sacrifice this factory once again, and he will get the scouting intel he needs at the high yield here in just a moment. And then the spidey senses will start tingling a little bit for Drewbie. He's going to be feeling at certainly a bit of a disadvantage here, instantly throwing down that next expansion as he sees the high yield, realizes he's pretty far behind in income, and as we see, WhiteRa's ahead by just about 50% and by ahead by quite a few workers as well. So WhiteRa's certainly got to be feeling pretty good right now. That Robo Bay is just about finished, and another Robo facility is on the way now, so we're going to see that Colossus production come out in a pretty timely manner here before too long, and we could see a beautiful timing attack from WhiteRa. He is on par to cap out much more quickly than Drewbie here. He's already ahead by about 25 supply, so we'll see exactly when that timing push comes. Drewbie, recognizing that he's behind, is going to move up to try to put some pressure on here, and hopefully he can do at least some crippling damage to that worker line. He does have a couple of ghosts here. We're waiting for that EMP. One EMP does come down. Very nice from Drewbie. Another EMP hitting that Archon as well, doing a great job stutter stepping and trying to minimize the effectiveness of these Zealots charge, helping WhiteRa a little bit here. It doesn't look like Drewbie is going to have enough units to pull this off. The Observer coming down to give him some of that extra vision. Looks like the one last medevac may fall, and looks like Drewbie will be able to clean up these forces, but WhiteRa is going to be able to supplement that nice and easily, and all of these weak bio units are going to be headed towards home.
That's exactly right. Those Zealots helping clean up that force from Drewbie very, very easily. And Drewbie only has 2 medevacs out there. I don't know if you noticed, but WhiteRa actually target fired those down, took them out very, very quickly. And an aggressive stem there from Drewbie trying to chase off those Zealots just forces those medevacs to use even more energy. Valuable energy, I might add. And this is a great choice here from WhiteRa to go ahead and switch it up. You can see Drewbie is floating in there with that factory, is going to scout the robotics facility, and even sees a Colossi coming out there. So if he is paying very close attention, he can actually start producing Vikings. But it looks like 2 medevacs are on their way. Needs those medevacs to continue healing those units, but this is going to be very, very tough for Drewbie to deal with a tech switch like this. WhiteRa already has out 3 Colossi. He's going to continue producing those Colossi. You can see the Zealot number is quite high, 15 and even more on the way. The +2 coming also for WhiteRa. Drewbie currently on 1-1 as well, but he is down a gold base, and that is certainly going to hurt for quite some time. WhiteRa just feeling very fantastic as those 2 drops from Drewbie get ready to drop into the main of WhiteRa again.
Yeah, and we'll see how much damage he can do with these drops. Interesting that he did mix in 1 Marauder with all of these Marines. We'll see if that was intentional or not. There is a cannon that is going to get a couple of free shots off on this medevac, and another cannon is about to complete here. It looks like it will be focus fired by Drewbie, which is a smart choice, but it is giving WhiteRa the time he needs to get his army into a better position. As we see, very few workers have been killed. The Zealots are moving on in, trying to do some damage. These cannons actually helping WhiteRa quite a bit here, buying him that valuable time. The Darkshine trying to get focused, but he couldn't take it out. Drewbie unable to do a lot with this pusher. There is a huge engage in the middle, though. Those Colossi frying up so many units right in the middle of the field. We see that supply gap is now growing quite a bit. WhiteRa up by about 30 supply now as he cleans up that drop in his main and continues to push in with these Colossi.
That's exactly right. 5 Colossi now pushing in. Those ghost EMPs not helping nearly as much, and the high Marine count of Drewbie is starting to hurt him pretty badly here. There are a couple of Vikings out, and right now WhiteRa actually doesn't have anything that will be able to shoot out or shoot up, so those Vikings will be able to do significant damage, but WhiteRa is going to have a nice little SCV barbecue here. Those lasers going in full force. Drewbie now trying to get a decent surround on these Colossi and trying to take them out as quickly as possible. There are some DTs in the mix, and it looks like the engagement is happening. Drewbie now trying to stem up and do as much damage as possible, picking off a couple of those Colossi, but man, WhiteRa is just going to be able to supplement so well with this. More Colossi on the way. Drewbie is in a rough spot.
Yeah, Drewbie is certainly in a very, very rough spot. There are just too many Colossi on the field for him to deal with. He just doesn't have enough Vikings and doesn't have the facilities to produce them as well.